I think we can all agree that the worst part about playing D&D, or honestly any tabletop role-playing game, is the long time between when we get to play. Or honestly, maybe even worse than the delay between sessions is the anticipation leading up to a game night, only to have it canceled. Well, I'm here to share my favorite way to game, and it's so simple and it is so easy that you can add this to your current games to play a little every day between your real-time game sessions. So rather than playing only in real time, I'm suggesting a hybrid approach. And by hybrid, I mean adding in play-by-post, or PBP for short, to your existing game. Play-by-post is absolutely my favorite way to play now, and I did a whole separate video about it. You can see somewhere up here. But in this video, I just want to discuss the hybrid approach where you do both live action sessions, and that's, whether in person around a table, virtually on Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, whatever, over video cameras, but that real-time interaction mixed with asynchronous actions via play-by-post. Just a real quick overview of play-by-post if you've never heard of it. It's asynchronous, meaning you're not all together at the same time. One person posts, somebody else reads it, and then you post later on, etc., etc. It's text-based, and I guess with technology today, you could do like video posts. That sounds terrible to me, but hey, to each their own, right? Either way, the point is, play-by-post can be really fun. Now, how does this apply to your tabletop role-playing game, your live sessions? You can easily add play-by-post to your current game and really increase the amount of time that you get to play. Also, you can potentially have the option to dive deeper into your characters than you ever thought possible. One character talking to an interesting NPC leaves everybody else sitting around a table, waiting and bored. But with play-by-post, you can deep dive into a conversation and not waste anybody's time. The PCs getting to know each other while traveling from place to place, a lot of times that feels awkward around a table, but writing out the banter can be incredibly fun. I've got a fun meme for you where it's like the DM, the player flirting with the NPC and then the DM flirting back. That's pretty awkward when you're sitting around a table, but play-by-post, that can be really fun. A hybrid game could honestly completely change your campaign from just this 90-minute motion picture into an epic series that could have an unlimited number of seasons. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. How can you add play-by-post to your game? You could honestly do your first PvP interactions. That sounds terrible on video. I'll stick with play-by-post. You can add your first play-by-post interaction into your game simply by one player and the narrator texting each other back and forth. There's actually another narrator on our Ptolus Discord that did exactly this. They texted a player asking them how they wanted the character to go about following up with an NPC. This was a conversation between one player and one NPC, so it was perfect to handle over just some quick texts back and forth. But now, think about expanding that even further for your game. Think about all the scenes that you would love to do, but you simply don't want to work around, they don't work when you're all around a table with a group of people. A lot of people are already using Discord for game discussions, like out-of-character chat or, when you're not around the table. It would be so simple for you to add a play-by-post channel to your Discord and just start role-playing right in there. Now, personally, my game, we use the website rpol.net due to the site's many, many benefits. It's free, lots of stuff, and honestly, our writing tends to be long form. I've done one play-by-post game over Discord, and honestly, it was mostly like short interactions, quick stuff. It wasn't that long form content. So you can use almost any technology though. All right. You could do this over email. You could use Discord. You can do text messages if you don't want to wrangle all those things together, if you don't care about other people seeing it, or even a group message. There are tons of different play-by-post websites out there. You could also do written letters sent by carrier pigeon, basically any form of technology that's going to work for you and for your group. Figure out what's going to be best, and then that's what you're going to roll with. Another cool part about this is that you don't have to have every member of your group engaged in play-by-post. If you have just a few that want to, that can be totally fine, even if it's just one person. My first play-by-post campaign started as a duet campaign. There was a single player and myself as the narrator, so I know this can work. Obviously, the more buy-in, the more engagement there is, it's going to be better, especially when you start to hand out rewards. If you're rewarding experience points, treasure, or whatever for events that occur in those play-by-post interactions, I guarantee you the other players are going to catch on to that and hopefully get interested in engaging themselves as well. Otherwise, you might just have one player that outpaces the others because they're doing a lot of play-by-post. That might seem unfair. This is one of the things that you have to deal with in your game. I know one of the old games I played in back in the day when I actually had time to sit around a table, the DM gave the option to write out of like journal entries that we could submit. Those came with bonus experience points. I wrote one for every single session, and so my character leveled up faster than everybody else. That's up to you whether that's going to be awkward for your group or not. We don't want this to be a bad thing. We don't want to hurt your game, but it might be one of the just the perfect carrot that you can put in front of your players. Now, honestly, one of the most rewarding parts of play-by-post for me as a narrator is when the characters are talking to each other. This is also going to kind of dictate what technology that you use. If you might not want everybody to see all of the conversation, you might want them to. But my favorite part is, as a narrator, when I get to see them conversing, their characters between two different players talking to each other, I love that. Being able to mix and match the character involvement is another awesome aspect of play-by-post. Rather than leaving someone out at the table, two characters could go off and do their own thing without wasting anybody's time. Hello, unlimited side quests and downtime activities, right? The sky is the limit here to what you want to do. If the rogue wants to go check out something all by himself or herself, that's totally fine. You can do that in a play-by-post. Then that comes back, and I'm going to talk about personal information here in a little bit. Then that comes back where the person playing the rogue gets to disseminate that information to the rest of the group. You didn't have 2, 3, 4, 5 other players sitting around bored while this one character did something. You can handle that in play-by-post and then bring it to the table. The question always comes up, does this make the GM/DM do a whole lot more work? Well, that entirely depends on what you do in play-by-post. If you exclusively engage in conversations and downtime activities that are driven by the player, then honestly, there should be very little extra prep work for you as a narrator. If you're responding to whatever they're doing. And again, the great part is you're not on the spot. You have time to think about it. You don't have a whole bunch of set of eyes sitting around a table staring at you, waiting for you to make up something on the fly. Now, if you want to run, combat and entire side quests for each individual character, then yeah, absolutely the narrator's workload is going to increase. But that's up to you. That's up to your players. You can control that. This could also be a chance for players, gasp, to become narrators. One player could GM a combat for another player, and then the main DM can just supervise. How great would that be, right? No more forever DM, you're training people. Narrating that small side quest is an awesome way for a player to learn how to narrate without the stress and pressure of running a full game in person on the spot. Now, speaking of fights, how do you handle stopping a live session mid-fight? Well, you got a few options, right? It comes to the end of the night, you're in the middle of a fight, you have to pause right there. What are we going to do about it? One of the things you could do is actually keep the fight going in play-by-post. The whole point of this video is just introducing the idea that your game doesn't have to stop when everybody leaves the table. If you're using a virtual tabletop, then the combat could easily continue via play-by-post. You could also pause all play-by-post until the fight's resolved in person. I don't recommend this because it's really going to stifle this exciting form of role-playing, but that might be the only option for your game in that time. You could also act under the expectation that everybody survived the fight and then have the posting activities basically resume after the fight is ended. This gets weird, it can be a little crazy, and if somebody dies in the fight, then that's really confusing because now they're talking post-mortem. This last one can become a little crazy, confusing, and brain-twisting, but you can also have your asynchronous posting activities happening under a different timeline than your live action. Typically what this looks like and how this is done is that the play-by-post actions cover things that happen prior to the live session rather than after. For example, All the players want to discuss the life story of every NPC they met in the town before heading to the nearby dungeon. They see the one little waif child and they decide to ask him every family member he's ever had and everything he's ever done. Well, rather than doing all of that at the table, you just say, we'll handle this and play by post. So during the live session, you all start at the dungeon. Then when you leave that table mid-fight, your play-by-post interactions cover all the role-playing in town and during travel. That way, if somebody dies during a fight, you don't have this crazy Back to the Future broken timeline action where they were talking after they're dying, okay? This is the one that I recommend for live action, and you're not always stopping in the middle of a fight. So a lot of times, the interactions can continue. Even if there's combat, you can handle that over play-by-post. All right, it's obvious. I've sold you on play-by-post. Now you want to start. Excellent. Now what? Well, the first thing you got to do is just talk to your players. Show them this video, ask them how they feel about play-by-post, tell them that if they like and subscribe to my channel, you'll give their characters a bag of gold, right? Whatever, no pressure. Second, choose your technology, whether that's Discord, text messages, a chat app, email, play-by-post website, whatever. Just decide all together what you're going to do, what you're going to use. Then third, decide on your first interactions. So you're in a tavern, right? Classic start. But honestly, I bet there's already an NPC that one of your characters wanted to talk to, but they didn't want to waste everybody's time around the table. Just start there. Maybe there's two characters that wanted to talk more during the travel time. Let them play that out over play-by-post. Again here, the sky is the limit. Let it start out with your players driving the narrative, your players asking questions, so that you as the narrator just have to respond. And honestly, I bet this is going to snowball and play-by-post will rapidly become something everybody at your table loves. Let me give you just a few examples of some great play-by-post interactions. Something I love to do, and that my players seem to enjoy, is when I give information in secret to only a single player, and then they get to share that with the group. Now, this could be the result of something their character learned during downtime or solo play-by-post activity time. Like we talked about, that rogue. Maybe they went off on play-by-post time, they scouted out the opposition, they looked at the big bad guy's headquarters, whatever. They learned that during their play-by-post solo time. Then they bring that back to the group and they get to share it. It's not your words, it's theirs from their own experience. Or maybe it's something you just tell them in private that only their characters know. One-on-one conversations between a PC and an NPC. Again, I've said this a couple times, but if you don't want to bog down that table time where you've got that limited amount where you're all together and the best thing to do during that time is combat, take that into a play-by-post chat. Just say, hey, you can absolutely talk to this NPC. Let's do that in play-by-post. Downtime activities are huge for this. Again, that you can have the conversation, they can go off, and it doesn't have to feel like everybody has to go together to go do everything. They want to work on their business. They want to go after the person they're in love with, whatever. Class-specific training is another good one. If the ranger needs to go train with a ranger, if the fighter needs to go train with somebody, if a wizard needs to go spend a bunch of time in the library, handle that in play-by-post. Secret society meetings and interactions. This is another great one, like roguish behind-the-back dealings. These shouldn't be done in front of everybody, right? Maybe the rogue isn't just off scouting for everybody else, but maybe he's also selling a little information about the party to the bad guy. You don't want to do that in front of everybody at the table. This is a great thing to handle off camera, off the table, in play-by-post. Research in the library, not fun at a table, right? The guy has to go research, you handle that in play-by-post, you tell him what he finds out, he comes back to the group. Another cool thing is like playing out flashbacks or events in the character's past. You can take the time, write this up. You don't have to memorize it. You don't have to get all the voices right and everything like that. You can just write this narrative out and share it with the players. Again, the possibilities here for play-by-post are truly endless. I really hope that you're going to give a hybrid game a try. I love play-by-post, my players all love it, and I bet your group is going to as well. And this can add a whole new dynamic and a level to your game. If you've tried this before, if you're going to try it, after you try it, please give us a comment down below. Let us know how it goes, what you like, what you don't like. Any kind of feedback is fantastic because other people that might be considering trying this out, they would love to hear from more than just me. So please leave that in the comments down below. I'm not going to do the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe. Everybody else tells you to do that, so I'm not going to. If you play in a Ptolus game, we've got a Ptolus-specific Discord. It is fantastic. There's some over 400 narrators on there constantly having conversations about what's going on in their game. And even if you don't play Ptolus, maybe you're just running a big city campaign, this can be still a great place to chat with some other like-minded narrators. But until next time, stay out of the shadow of the Spire.